welcome. My name's Marie and this is my yarn journey. Just wanted to say before I get started that if I don't seem as upbeat or my usual smiley happy self, I don't know what else to say. I've not been feeling great the last couple of days, but I didn't want to not do a video for you, so I'll just make you aware that yeah, if I seem a bit flat at times, whatever, I've got quite a bad stomachache, so yeah, I thought I'd better just say that in case you think there's something off at all, because I know sometimes we think that we're putting our best face forward and all that, but somehow our emotions, feelings, whatever, come through in the videos. And I've noticed that myself with some people that I watch on a regular basis, because you do get used to what they are like. So did I say yes? My name's Marie, this is my yarn journey, and here I will be updating you about what I've been knitting on in the last week or so. I've been a very bad podcast this week and I could hardly remember what I've knit on, but I have mainly monogamously knit on one project. It's a brand new cast on, so that's something really interesting to talk to you about. And there's another few bits that I wanted to talk about and maybe show you some pictures of something I've been doing on my iPad related to knitting. Hope you've had a lovely week, whatever you've been up to. I've been doing quite a bit of baking, trying to use up some fruits and produce that is has been in my freezer. So my mum has an allotment. She often gives me excess produce off the allotment, and my mum and my dad both have apple trees, so they often give me plenty of apples. And we actually have a blackberry in the garden. It's only a small one, has a couple of stems, but we do get some off there. And to be fair, if we're not going to use things up, I always do just freeze them to save them, because I don't like wasting food. So this week I actually made some blackberry and oat muffins, and they turned out delicious. Most of the members of my family were devouring them, so that was really nice, because I did end up with quite a lot of blackberries in the freezer. I do like to try and use them up in ingenious ways. Obviously I do the usual crumbles and all that, but and I have got some apple to make some apple and cinnamon bars later, so I hope they turn out nice. And I'm going to be doing some apricot and white chocolate muffins, so we shall see what the boys say about that. Anyway, I think, like I say, last weekend I did do a little bit on my night lights by Andrea Mowry, and this has not had a lot of progress, as you can see. I'm almost at the halfway point now, so it'll be really good once the rows are shrinking instead of growing. I can't remember if I'm at the end of because it's 16 row repeat in the Andrea Mowry night lights. Really easy pattern, but because it is a 16 row, I can't seem to memorize it. I'm sure most people would, but rather than get myself confused, this is the second ball. This is the first ball of this. These are 50 grams. And I've got, oh, that's obviously from a bit of a twig there from when I went to, when my partner was fishing. I don't want that in the beautiful bag. So this yarn is called, the colourway is called Sakura. It's a DK weight, and it is from My Creative Garage, who is an Australian dyer. And the main yarn is this one in a navy colourway. I've really enjoyed knitting this, but like I say, it's not a mindless knit, and this is, I'm going to be casting on something else this weekend, and there's a reason for that, and I'm going to explain that later in the episode. but most of my knitting at the moment is engaging knits that I have to look at the pattern for. So I haven't got anything that, while I've been feeling a bit under the weather these last few days, is I can't just pick something up and knit on it. The only thing I've got is Dwayne's scarf, and I'm not feeling inspired to knit on that. It's very slow going. I have said before, but just in case you didn't know, I did buy plenty of this main yarn, the navy. I am hoping to do a pair of mittens, and a hat to go with it. It's a Petiteknit hat, whichever the DK weight one is, the Weekend or the Oslo, and that's the hat I've decided I want to try knitting, because I've never done that before. I've never knit a Petiteknit hat, and I'm torn between two mitten patterns. I have a slip stitch pattern, I think it's Mocha Knits, and that's actually written in fingering weight, so I'd have to see how it turned out with DK. Or the OLE mittens by Suzanne Muller, I think they are. But the OLE mittens are the ones that I would prefer to make, and that's the ones that I got the yarn, enough yarn for. But last time I tried to do them, I knit them in a very variegated yarn, the tulip yarn from John Arbon. Unfortunately, that yarn, I found it very hard to read my knitting, and the mittens are brioche, but they will be a very thick warm mitten, and that was what was fancying about them. Now, I got all the way up to the thumb, and then I wasn't sure what to do at the thumb point. I haven't done much brioche, and I do find it quite intimidating. What I've found with a variegated yarn, it was very hard for me to distinguish my yarn overs from my actual stitch. So I definitely want to have another attempt, but coming into winter and trying to knit on this in the evenings, it's quite challenging. I've got a lamp that I have on my table there, which I do use, but with that lamp I find it quite tricky where I'm sat to have it so that the light is shining on my work and it's not actually blinding me or giving me a headache. So that's something else that I need to work on. I keep tucking the base of the lamp under my leg of all things, or putting it just on my table there. But yeah, I need to come up with some sort of solution. I think I did have a neck light, but that didn't work for me, so I passed that on. So it's just finding a good solution so that I can do it. But yeah, shouldn't be too long for having this done, but let's hope it's not one that ends up in hibernation, because you know I get distracted around this point in projects and don't get them finished. Now, I did weigh both my skeins, and I think I came to the conclusion that I was going to finish the round of 16 rows that I was on, the repeat I was on, and then I think I was going to start decreasing, because I am actually a little bit further along in. I've got more stitches on my needles than the pattern asks for, but I wanted to maximise use of the yarn with the hand dyed that I'd bought from Vanessa. So I wanted to make sure that with that yarn I would definitely you know, use as much up as I could in the pattern. And I thought to myself, if the scarf's a bit longer or bigger, it won't matter at all. So yeah, hopefully there'll be progress on that this week. Actually, do you know what I'm going to do before I forget? I am going to move my progress keeper up. Oh, sorry, it got a bit stuck there. Yep. With that being DK, it is quite a nice one to knit on, and the yarns are lovely and soft, so that makes a difference. Now, the next project that I'm going to talk to you about actually is another Andrea Mowry project. Now, I've put this into my creative coffee shop bag, as I call it. Massive, love the size, really good for most projects. And what's good about this bag is that 9 times out of 10, and you might be able to see in here, you can keep all your yarn inside, which is fantastic. So this is a sweater's quantity of yarn in here, albeit fingering weight. And this is the from not having done any Andrea Mowry patterns before to now having cast on my second one, and I'll show you it, and then I'm going to talk about a few issues that I've had. So this is the Stonecrop pullover. It's a fingering weight. I am using Kinross 4-ply in the colourway Thistle, and I am also using, and I'll just pick a few up, minis from Craft House Magic that came in the especially for you collection she did. Now, I've not tried this on yet, which again, I know you'll be screaming at me, why have you not done that? I always struggle with trying on sweaters before I've joined under the arm. I've really struggled to get a gauge of how they're going to be on me. I am going to try this on before I split for sleeves, but yeah, so what I would say is that in this pattern, it wasn't very clear about, there wasn't very much, not that I could find, and I may have missed it in the pattern, that might be on me, but there wasn't much guidance for the swatch, so I wasn't really sure what to do. And the chart is a 64 row repeat pattern, sequence or whatever. So, and bearing in mind that I'm using minis for my colours, I was a little bit unsure of whether, as I was saying, sorry, I'm using minis, and I wasn't sure if I'm probably going to be using most of those in the pattern. So I was worried about running out and stuff. So I decided, probably to my detriment, to not do a swatch and just cast on. I am aware that I'm a tighter knitter, and I haven't done Andrea Mowry's patterns before, so it was a big risk, because I don't know with Andrea Mowry if she's a tighter knitter or a looser knitter. It's, for some reason, it still doesn't, I'm still not at a point where I understand with certain needle sizes and yarns roughly what gauges I can achieve, which when you get to that point, I presume you can call yourself an experienced knitter, I don't know. But anyway, so I cast on, and I did what I do with all patterns generally now, and that is I go up 0.5mm where possible, and generally 9 times out of 10 I'll be there or thereabouts with gauge with that increase in needle size. So I did that. I went up the 0.5mm in needle size, but then used obviously the smaller needle size for the collar, and then proceeded to do the short rows, and then I checked my gauge. My gauge was significantly off. I think the pattern, just let me check, because I have written it down on my iPad, and that's something else that I was going to talk to you about today. And I think this is going to be quite useful going forward for the so yeah, for the ribbing, it was a 3.25mm that I was supposed to use. Now, my ribbing at this point, which I should have guessed because it looks quite open, because I used a 3.75 millimeter, and as I've just said before, went up 0.5 millimeter, and generally most times I will get gauge because I am quite a tighter knitter. I've made 2 modifications on this pattern. Another thing that's a common theme in most of my patterns is that I've knit, they come up too high on the neck for my preference. So I've been wanting to, for a while, to try modifying by adding more short rows. In this pattern, it seemed quite simple, so I decided to add 4 more short rows. After doing that, I actually checked my gauge, and at this point I was on a, because after the ribbing you swap to the bigger needle size, so I think then I was on a 4, I was on a 4.5. I've not written it down for some reason, I don't know why I didn't do that, but anyway, I'd gone up half again, and I realised that my gauge was too loose. I had something like 24 stitches, and the pattern called for 27. And on this pattern, it's a more fitted garment, so I have gone for a bit of a smaller size, so it would rather be that my tension is a little looser. So anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. I decided at that point that I needed to actually use the needle size in the pattern. So what that ended up meaning is that my ribbing, so I don't know if you can tell how loosey-goosey that ribbing is, but I had to, I ended up using the same needle size for the ribbing as I have now ended up using for the body of the garment. Will that impact it? If the neckline is really loose, maybe you can tell me what's the best option. I mean, putting elastic in, or see, I don't mind if it's a more open neckline, but what I am worried about, because of the significant difference between any knitting where I've not done colour work and where I've done colour work, there is a difference in my gauge. And with this pattern, if I was to change needle sizes every single time, it would get a bit tiresome. And the bits in between might not be too bad, but it's just obviously this top area was quite longer, and because I've done extra short rows on the back, if you can see there, it will impact it. I think it's looking nice. I'm pleased with the colour work, although I'm not sure it looks neat, but it looks effective. I'm sure on camera it'll look pretty effective. If it's a more open neckline, I don't mind that. I just don't want the neckline to be lifting away. Because it's looser than the fabric. Now, I don't know if you can actually unravel it that way, because normally you'd unravel your knitting this way, and it's not something I've ever done before, because I could then go back in and knit the collar again. That's definitely an option if it's looking bad. But if you can let me know if you've done that before and put it in the comments. But overall, I would say the colour work, very simple. The other modification I've made, so I've added 4 extra short rows. And also in the first section at the top here, you can see I've done some cables, and I've learned how to do the cables without the cable needle. So it's only 1 stitch cable that you twist in. So very, very simple cables, but I was finding it quite fiddly with my little cable needle. And so I watched Andrea Mowry's video, highly recommend that, and she talks you through what to do to and it's quite simple to actually do the cables without a cable needle. And those rows are very, very straightforward now, because it's just literally, you know, you can get in a flow with it when you're not using the cable needle. The only thing I've done different there is between those cables there is supposed to be a bobble, and I decided not to do the bobble. Yeah, it's grown quite quick. It'll be really nice now because the rows are pretty long when I can get to splitting for sleeves, and also that I can try it on at that point. Now, if I do have to rip it out, I will do that, but I'm hoping I won't have to, even though I've had those gauge issues. Sorry if that's just crackled on or whacked on the mic. It's hard to tell because it's bunched up on the needles, and like I say, I will definitely do a try on at some point very, very soon before I get much further. I think I've got one more increase round to do, and then I've just got to knit to a certain length, and then it'll be splitting for sleeves. And it'll be really, really nice to have this garment right now, because doing the colour work, with it being a fingering weight garment, I've said before, I could do with a few for this transitional series, this transitional period. So fingering weight, long sleeved tops, garments, whatever. And with it actually having the colour work, it does add a little bit of an extra warmth to that fabric, with there being the carried over yarns at the back, which is really nice. Yes, so I think Andrea Mowry must be have a similar gauge to me. So apart from the fact that obviously my colour work and my normal in the round knitting, there is a difference between those gauges. I'm sure you're all screaming at me at the screen right now for the obvious things that I should have done and haven't done on this project, but I'm really enjoying knitting it, and the chart's really easy to follow. Most of the rows, it is just a 6-stitch repeat, so it's quite easy for me to get into a rhythm with knitting the rows. Just like I say, it's one that I do have to be sat with my iPad and follow the chart. But I'm sure I'll get plenty more done on it today, because like I say, I'm really enjoying it. Now, I'm wondering what to talk to you about next, because there's a few things. I think what I'll do is, because I've got my iPad here, I will just talk to you. So, you may have seen previously in the past, I have done a few planning videos on my channel. I do my day-to-day planning on my digitally. So I used to have a paper diary. They stopped producing the paper diary, and I started doing it all. So that's all family stuff, appointments, holidays, all that sort of jazz. And what I need to get done day to day, to-do lists, all that, it's all done on my iPad. And since doing those videos, I have changed the planner I use, and I use the Blooming Planner by Shelley. And I will put a link in the description for anyone that also does digital planning and wants to have a look. Through using the digital planner from Shelley, I have then been introduced to Darius, who does a lot of, and so does Shelley, but she does a lot of realistic stickers, because you can, on Noteful, you can do it in the same way as if, because I like the pen and paper feel. So I've never gone across to digital planning because I didn't get on with it. But when I'm doing a pen and paper sort of situation, but on my iPad, I really enjoy using it. So all that to say that Darius, which is Last Rituals on Etsy, does a lot of planners that you can customize yourself, or notebooks as it were. And I haven't been keeping up with Ravelry at all this year, and I wondered why that was and what else I could try. Now I'm doing a lot of reading, which I've told you about, and I'm currently on number 3 of this series. Getting a lot more, in my opinion, less story, more smut, but if you like that type of thing, it's very enjoyable. I'm still enjoying it. I've got one more book to go in that series. So I started off with a journal that I'm using to track my reading, hence why I showed the book. And I'm really enjoying doing that. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be good if I could have something similar for my knitting? And that led to me ending up getting one of Darius's blank notebooks, which just have monthly tabs. And then I am trying to create my own knitting journal that will help me with doing the podcast and keeping better track of what I've done in patterns. Because what I also found is that when I was doing the knitting of all the projects, I hadn't really written anything down. And I all the right notes down because I've not been keeping on top of Ravelry. And I thought with the planner, that might be something that I'll be able to do better and keep on top of if it's with all my other planning things. That's the idea anyway. Who knows if I'll carry on with it, but I will do a few little screenshots and I'll put them up on the side now so that you can see what I've done if that's something that you fancy doing with your knitting. It's not finalised, and to be fair, what I like about is it doesn't have to stay looking the same for every project. Each one can be different, and hopefully being a little bit more creative with the records means that it'll keep me engaged and keep me filling it in. So yeah, I have had quite a bit of fun doing that this week. And one other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is my Midland cardigan. Now, oh yeah, and there's something else hiding under here that I want to talk to you about as well. So I'm going to put it on now. I realise it doesn't really go with this, but I put it on yesterday and I thought I would try not to knock my mic because I just forget it's there. I've still no buttons on it, by the way. Still feel like the sleeves are a little bit long, but not so long that I'm probably going to do anything about it. But what I noticed yesterday when I put it, because I was absolutely freezing and I thought, oh gosh, what can I put on? And I realised I had my cardigan in my knitting cupboard because I've still not put the buttons on. So I put this on because it started getting a bit more chilly in my part of the UK. And what I will say is it's very itchy. For me, personally, this yarn is very, very itchy. I will definitely, I'm sure it's going to be a very sturdy yarn, long lasting. This cardigan will probably go on for years. But it's just really disappointing when you've made something and it just like, it's not comfortable to wear. So my mum had suggested maybe try blocking or washing it again to see if it softens up. And I know it will soften up with wear, so I'm possibly going to have to just keep putting it on. And I suppose as we come into winter, I'll probably have long sleeves on anyway, so that won't matter. But have you got any suggestions? Have you used any rustic yarns that have felt a little bit prickly or itchy against your skin, and you've got any solutions for me? I just thought you might have come across this before. See, with this yarn, I hadn't felt it before I bought it. I'd literally just bought it because of the colour, which I absolutely love because it's a neutral with rainbows. So it's got yellow, pink and blue. And yeah, I really, really love the colour of it. Although I thought it would go with a lot more things than it looks like it's going to, and I don't know if from a distance it looks all right. Sorry, I'm just kind of rambling about that now, but and I was also this past week I've been having another think about this yarn again, because as I was saying earlier, all my knitting right now is really complicated. Not really complicated, that's the wrong way to put it. It's like I have to look at the pattern to see which row I'm on and all that, and sometimes you just don't want to do that, do you? So I feel like I need something on the needles where I don't need even the socks that I've got, to be fair. And I know why I'm not working on those socks. It's because I have to look at the pattern. So I'm very, very tempted, and I know I shouldn't do this, but maybe you guys can help me in the comments. Do I push through and get those socks finished, or do I cast on the other socks I want to do, where I will just have the easy in the round knitting? I'm not sure what to do. Will those socks ever get finished if I don't? I really enjoyed doing the last socks I did because they were vanilla socks and I didn't take much thought. So maybe that's what I need to stick to for a little while. Even doing the cuff, the cabled cuffs on some of these recent ones, the rest of the sock is just a vanilla sock, so it's quite simple. Anyway, that was a bit of a side tangent, but yeah, so I've been thinking about this yarn. Now, this is 100% cashmere yarn, and it's made in Mongolia, and I have been holding myself back with this yarn because I was saying to Mum yesterday, it's like I've been thinking to myself, I need a special pattern for this yarn. And I haven't been able to quite find the right one. There's a cardigan that I want to make. It's a Petiteknit cardigan, and I think it is DK weight. And I'll just tell you what it's called. I've got it on Ravelry. So it's the November jacket. Now, I don't wear a lot of cardigans. Mainly if I knit a cardigan, I can imagine that I'm going to use it more as a sweater, but I like the look of a cardigan with the buttons down. But in my general wardrobe, what do I wear a lot of? I definitely, in the winter times anyway, I wear my pole sweater. What I want in a cardigan is I want something that I can throw on around the house to keep as an extra layer to warm me up, or when it's not really cold outside and it's like an in-between season, to throw on more like a jacket or a light layer. Oh, it's pouring down. To wear, to take out with me, so I can go out but not wear a coat. So I've wanted for ages to do the November jacket. So this is brioche. So another reason why it's been sort of hovering in the background as something I really, really want, but haven't had the courage to knit yet. And the thing with the November jacket is it's a longer jacket. It's got pockets. It's going to be lovely and warm and snuggly because it's brioche, but it eats yarn because you're knitting double when you knit brioche. So when I looked at this originally, and this, I've got eight skeins of this, so it's 100 grams in each skein. So I've got 800 grams DK weight. I thought, oh, I might use that for that, but no, this won't work. I've not got enough, and I'll be playing yarn chicken. So then I was considering like lots of different patterns for this. Like I was thinking, oh, I need something that's fancy. I need something that really shows the yarn off. I tried it for the checker plate. I'd done a swatch for that, and I was worried about the collar because Lily Kate did say with the checker plate sweater, you needed something with a bit of strength and structure, and this is going to have drape because it's cashmere. So again, that was another idea that I'd played around with. And then I was thinking about what I wear in my wardrobe a lot and what I reach to. Now, I've said this before, but my pole sweater I absolutely love. And I reach for that all the time. And I wear it a lot because the fit of it's lovely. And that yarn has really, really softened up over time, and it's quite, and I like the gauge it's at. It's like a lovely, it's definitely a warmer sweater. So I thought, if that's what I reach to a lot, and I will knit another pole sweater at some point, I just don't think I've got anything in the stash that I'm going to use for it, because what I've decided with this is, because I was toying with the Calm Down cardigan by Lily Kate France, but then I thought to myself, am I going to wear that Calm Down cardigan as much as I want to? This is a beautiful yarn. This is going to be fabulous against skin, super, super soft. I want to make the most of it, and I want to get lots of wear out of it. So my final decision was, I'm going to be making the Calm Down sweater. I love Lily Kate France's patterns. Recently I have done, I've realised that I've been picking a size bigger in her patterns than I need to, and that's why sometimes the fit has been a little bit off for me. I definitely found in my Winnie top that was a much better fit, because I'd gone down a size in her pattern. So I think that's what I'm going to do with this yarn. And I think that will also give me the simple knit on the needles to be doing in the background. And it'll be another staple. It's a lovely colour. Hope it's showing up. It's like a duck egg, bluey green. And I'm hoping that this will be similar to my Paul sweater, in that it'll be a really good everyday staple for colder weather. So yeah, sorry, that was a bit of a long-winded chat about that, wasn't it? But I may be casting that on soon. We shall see. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk to about today. I hope that you've enjoyed the episode, if you've lasted till the end. I'm sorry if it's been a bit rambly, a bit all over the place, but as I say, I'm not feeling myself. But I just wanted to show up for you and chat about, you know, what I've been doing this week. And I'd love to hear in the comments what you've been up to, what you're knitting on. Oh, and there's something else I have almost forgotten. Daft Days cardigan. As you can see, I've not worked on it, but AJ has given me a fantastic suggestion. She has suggested that I pick up the other sleeve and work that with the extra colours in before ripping back this other sleeve. And I think that is a brilliant idea. So another one of my tasks, hopefully over the weekend, is to get that sleeve picked up, and then I can start on that. Anyway, enjoy your knitting, crafting, whatever you are doing. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.